With the theatre centre busier than ever, so much was happening that they needed more room. As Eastern Coachworks left the building, an opportunity presented itself, and the theatre centre team were ready to grasp it with both hands.
The place was full of lots of interesting characters, odds and ends of sort of the local sort of society.
I always wanted to be an actor, strangely enough. Coming from a sort of a fishing industry, my father was a bricklayer. Yeah, it's not the sort of thing you often say, I want to be an actor.
I used to teach in a primary school, and at that time the Seagull offered the studios that were upstairs, and we could bring groups of children here to have an experience of drama.
So we'd get a coach, we'd bring a class up here, we'd have picnic by the seaside, we'd have a time in the studio here where Patrick would work with the children, they'd have a lovely day together.
My first experience of coming to the Seagull is sort of a distant memory of when I was at Roman Hill Junior School, I think, when we used to come on visits. We used to dress up in 1900s clothing, and we used to have sort of days where we would explore history.
I started when I was at school, actually. We used to have drama classes, and they used to be held in this very building, run by a chap called Patrick Redsall.
Patrick had an amazing ability to get the best out of people.
I met Patrick and discovered this really crazy guy who just wanted to put different sorts of shows on that I'd never even considered.
Sandra Redsall came to the primary school that I was at and was teaching drama, I think, as an advisory teacher. And I'd loved the drama lessons so much.
Well, I was going to be a great ballerina. Time passed, and I thought, no, I'm going to be a great actress as well, because I was allowed to play Juliet at school. And I then went to the teacher training college because I'd heard that being an actress was not a safe thing. And I had decided that, I'd better have something else up my sleeve. So I'll be a teacher.
I was quite bright at school, but I was never top of the class. And suddenly in her drama lessons, I was the one that she was often commenting on, and it made me feel really great. Gave me so much confidence. I was quite shy. So I decided I was going to do I think it was a week's workshop coming every day. And I can remember walking into what is now Studio One upstairs, and we did a project, I think it was something like Journey to the Centre of the Earth or something, all improvised, and it was just terrific fun.
Oh my gosh, Sandra was lovely. I don't know, she was just such lovely, full of energy, quite sort of like always rushing around. But I always remember her with her characteristic Tom Thumb cigars.
Sandra was a bit more down to earth in the way that she worked. I always remember her, we'd always go to the pub after rehearsals and she'd always smoke these little cheroots.
Which I absolutely loved her for, and I ended up copying her because I thought it was just so cool.
She was just amazing. She was just so enthusiastic, so bubbly, absolutely brilliant with children and young people. Just made you feel really confident, and she did amazing things for me. I wanted to be Sandra.
The theatre here in Moreton Road was running very well. And they were doing wonderful things for young people.
There was a very strong relationship between Kirkley High and the Seagull. And I think when I joined Kirkley High, that strengthened even further. I got in touch with Rory Kelsey, who was running the Seagull on behalf of Suffolk County Council at the time. And I was invited to teach the youth group here, but did lots of work with Paul Hobbs in the recording studio. We ran a number of courses and groups together.
The opportunity to deal with people and create projects and think about helping other people to do that requires developing confidence in yourself, but also helping others to find the confidence in it.
Rory is a bit like your favourite teacher. He could get on with people. He was very good at organising. He was very good at pointing people in the right direction. But he always would stand back, and if someone came up with a better idea than he had, he would let them do theirs, if theirs was better. He'd make a judgment call.
My brief here was to get the Lowestoft Theatre Centre sort of a little bit more organised, get the adults that were working here incorporated into the activity rather than just doing their own thing, but keep the youth work going.
Rory, to people that don't know him, just a terrific, genuine guy. And I just remember his passion, Patrick's passion, Patrick Redsall's passion, Sandra's passion for theatre and education.
Paul is an extraordinary man. I've known him since I was a little kid. Frances, his wife then, was wonderful, putting up with these big costumes that I needed, but her detail was extraordinary.
Frances, she was the lady doing the designs for Wheel of the World for Patrick. She happened to have the key for downstairs, so the key opened up the whole down floor. Really, I think the college was using for an engineering department, but they were no longer wanting to use it. And what occurred is that I drew up the possibility of the theatre as it was in the old days, with the raked seats and the openings on the right and so on, where the actual workshops would be, what the bars looked like and so forth. And that was all constructed by volunteers and so forth and became a reality.
Frances, by and large, at the time, was doing the graphics and posters for a lot of the plays that were around. And she'd also done the interior decor for this place.
Rory was saying, I think the whole budget for converting the Seagull was probably about 30,000.
Well, I saw that number and I thought, 30,000, that's a lot of money. I paid 6,500 for my house. And that was a lot of money.
At that time, they hadn't got anyone to help them put up the lighting, and it was becoming a specialised job then.
You gave us the belief that we could do ambitious lighting. We need a river scene with a boat that overturns. Yes, that's fine. We need a house that catches fire. Yes, I can do that as well. So,
well, bear in mind that lighting is what you add to darkness. Yeah. So you just be very selective about what you add to darkness. It might be the red flickering things, and take the rest down, and you're halfway there then. We made the lighting bars in our new living room, which was undecorated then, so it was perfect to have a very long 20-odd foot lighting bar, which then, of course, once it was assembled, had to go out through the window because it was too big for any door to go through.
what gave it away was when the lighting poles arrived on the roof rack of a Renault 5.
And we were told by the licensing authority that we couldn't open without a fire escape, and we could only afford either the fire escape or the lighting. We paid for the lighting, and Paul here managed to blag a fire escape.
Wonderful. Go down to the Richard Ship building, and the guy stopped in his office and said, "You need a fire escape?" He said, "We'll have it to you within a couple of days." Oh, it has to be sandblasted. I had to put up, and we opened on time because it was all done.
Joe Larter, who was then round Pleasurewood Hills, saw the article about wanting to open the Seagull in the newspaper and rang me up and came and saw me and said, "I can't give you money, but I can give you work."
I'm Tim Hunkin, and I made the Seagull machine.
It's the bird that spins round and then it used to crack polos.
I just remember the Seagull and waiting for the polo and then quite happily eating it off the floor as I dropped it.
So there are these two seagulls hanging from the ceiling. You put in whatever coin it happens to be at the time. They start spinning round above your head, and as they spin faster, the arms that support them swing out. So you press the fire button and one of the seagulls shits a polo mint that comes out of the seagull. Obviously the seagull's fortunes revived a bit, and somebody asked if I had them, and so I said, yes, do you want them back? So I reinstalled them.
Coming into the Seagull and meeting all those people, it gave me a really warm feeling, and I just I made friends instantly, and we felt like a great big crowd, and it was so nice.
If I remember correctly, I was involved in the first production once this started to be used again as a theatre. God only knows why I answered an advert in the Waveney Advertiser, and they were looking for someone to come and audition, or people to come and audition for Dracula.
I was in plays here from about 1982 to about 1987 or 8. I can't remember who asked me, but it was a play called The Winter's Tale, and Rory Kelsey was directing.
Because it was when the curriculum had a Shakespeare tent. Sandra and I, we did different ones, or different sorts of workshops on that. Yeah.
He was just a really, really nice person who put you completely at ease.
We had such a good time, so I realised after one session that it just felt like home. It felt like the place where, I belonged.
The youth theatre was magical for me. I was the typical kid. I didn't really talk. I was shy. And that's what the Seagull does best. It gets people in and helps them express themselves. So coming to the Seagull Youth Theatre was a transformative moment for me. It was just brilliant. I even wrote to my friend Tim.
It was actually through John. John was in show here. I mean, he was about 9, and he was in the Crucible. So we both started going to the youth group.
I was about to start my GCSE in drama at the high school when we moved to Lowestoft. So I was very excited when I got to the high school here to continue with that, and found that there was nothing at all on offer. So I came along to some drama classes, and the first tutor, if you like, that I had, first youth group leader person, was Christine Beckingham, and we did an Ibsen play. And I'd never done anything like that before, and I worked with a number of people that I'm still friends with now, including John and others, and had a wonderful time.
The first play I did at the Seagull was Mother Courage. I must have been maybe 13 years old, 14 maybe, and I can remember just being on this stage here with actors of all ages and backgrounds. And it was just such an eye-opening experience, because all the stuff I had done prior to that was GCSE drama, basically. And suddenly I was on a real stage in front of a real audience doing a real play.
There was something special about coming to the Seagull Theatre, because it gave and still gives young people that feeling of a professional theatre, and it's different to the classroom, and you get to work with varying types of people, different types of talent, different skill sets. It's always been experimental. It's always been very open to let people just try things out.
I knew Sandra Redsall because the very first thing I did here, I was in it, and Sandra Redsall was directing it, which was the production of Alice. In which I was the Queen of Hearts. And hysterically, my costume had to keep being extended because I was pregnant.
You wanted to be going wherever Leslie was going, because she was always doing something interesting and exciting.
You turn up and you think, oh, am I going to get anywhere? Is it going to be worthwhile? Am I going to bore the kids to death? Well, any kids turn up. And children do, because you bring them with you who want to carry on going with something they've done in class. You meet other kiddies from other schools. And as I said, at one point in all this melange of activity, I just suddenly ended up with this alive group of young people.
I remember when I was younger, one of my good friends wrote a play. He was maybe 15 or 16, and we put it on. And it was really successful. And I don't know where else he'd have got that opportunity.
I believe in children finding depth within themselves and bringing out perhaps the problems they can't talk about actually in class. And for me, over the years, yes, a lot of students I have had have been able to talk to me and get help because it came out as part of the drama. We didn't just sit there reading and talking about characters. We talked about ourselves in situations. Drama can't be taken off the timetable. It's atrocious.
This place made me realise it was possible to make a career out of being an actor, being a technician, that it was possible to springboard from somewhere like this.
You know, without the Seagull, how else would I have cut my teeth? How else would I have learnt those skills? The more you do, right? I always say to young actors, just act, keep acting. Because you can't sit at home and go, I'm going to be a movie star one day, or I'm going to do TV or film. You have to do it, right? Like anything, you have to get better. And the only way you get better is if there are places where you can get better.
It really is a proper community theatre here. It's like all demographics, all types of people, whether you're interested in just purely the showing off, or the lighting and stuff like that. And you're just going to be in a group of completely different people. And that's when you get, I think, the best shows, is when you've got people with lots of different life experiences.
I was in quite a unique position because at the time, I think I might have been the only person of colour at the Seagull when I first started. And that never seemed to be an issue. But I just love the fact that the Seagull was so embracing of me. It was embracing of people. The Seagull, as well as doing lots of theatre performances, was always like doing other things. So they used to have jazz nights here, they used to have music nights here, and the cabaret was one of the things they used to do.
It was phenomenal. It was packed. It took place in the drama studio, and it was always, it was full to capacity.
I got the opportunity to teach with a guy called Ian Gordon, who taught the drama side. I taught the theatre set design and lighting, which is a BTEC National Diploma 2-year course.
As a music module, and that's all I really wanted to do, because I was like, I can't be arsed with theatre and that, but I want to do music. So I'd done the music module and I had to do all this dancing and learning about theatre and stuff.
My mum told me that there was a performing arts course at the Seagull, so I went to the college for my interview, met Ian. He was very enthusiastic. Spent 2 years here having a lot of fun.
I was a single mum, a teenager. My outlook and my options for the future were probably seen as very limited, and I had an idea that I wanted to be a performer, be involved in film, in theatre, and create. I applied for a BTEC Performing Arts at Lowestoft College, and that's when I was reacquainted with the Seagull, and met with the course leader, who was Ian Gordon. And so in 1996, when I was 23 and I had a 3-year-old son, I was accepted onto the BTEC Performing Arts course here.
Ian and Mel and Paul gave us a really broad understanding of contemporary arts and the history of arts.
The university is the reason I studied film, is the reason I have a master's in filmmaking and have a passion for working with young people. We had Paul Hobbs, who did the music production. I had no experience of doing sound and music production. So again, a very enthusiastic, encouraging tutor. The recording studio that was here, we spent many hours there recording radio shows, adverts, all sorts of stuff that we did with Paul.
Rory asked me to run the youth theatre. What a dream.
The first time I came here was to watch a production of Find Me, which was done by the Youth Theatre. I think because I knew someone from school who was in it, and that was kind of the change. I know it sounds a bit dramatic, but a bit of the changing point in my life, because I came out of watching that going, oh my God, this show is amazing. How do I join the Youth Theatre? And I did 3 shows with the Youth Theatre that swayed me into going, oh, okay, well, maybe I could do acting as a career.
It didn't matter who you were or where you came from or how confident you were even. You can learn to be confident. Confidence can grow. You can learn that in a safe space and in a place where you feel supported. And that's what this building was.
John Hales was directing those youth theatre shows, and he was so charismatic at that point. And it's sort of, I think, probably talking to him, it just kind of made me go, oh, this is what it's like to be in a show, to be part of a theatre company.
I was a teenager in the 90s, and mental health was not the hot topic that it is now, especially among young people. It wasn't really discussed. And I wasn't well. when I was a teenager. I wasn't well and I didn't have many friends and I was bullied. And coming here was like, it was my first experience of the world that was wider than my school. You know, the world was bigger than high school. It was bigger than the people that were mean to me in the playground. There was more people in the world. There was people that accepted you, that would love you unconditionally, that would support you. There was a family here. Honestly, that's what this place feels like to me. I could hug the walls. It feels like coming home. It's just the most welcoming place. It still has that about it.
What I remember Sandra saying to me is that this is completely unnecessary. There's a community of support and it's so very little that's needed to keep it open. And it almost felt like an act of vengeance by the local authority because of the education authority, plague on your houses sort of thing.
They made a show of trying to keep it open, and then as the cuts came, they could no longer fund it.
As the council began to deal with an ever-increasing deficit in the millions, the future of the Seagull was about to be thrown into jeopardy. Find out the truly inspirational story of the fight against its closure in the next episode of The School That Grew Wings.